Welcome to What the Health? The podcast where anything health is fair game. There's a lot of garbage advice and misinformation out there that can leave you feeling stumped and stuck. Together, let's sift through the sea of BS and find the best ways to get healthy and stay healthy. Join the team as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan Turo, Angela Turo, and Dr. Riley Brown.
And welcome to another episode of What the Health. I am Dr. Dan here with my co-host,
Angela. Welcome back, guys. As you know, we're here for informational purposes only, in no way offering individualized medical advice. So always talk to your trusted healthcare providers. I'd say this one today is particularly just
public health,
straight opinion. Like we are not endorsing any products whatsoever.
Zero
product endorsement here.
No, but we actually had a team member reach out to us and asked about, she was thinking about getting a weighted vest. And so,
curious about,
curious is that, is that healthy? Could it impact spinal health? So again, risk benefits of, anything, right?
Yeah. Of all the different exercise enhancing things
equipment
out there.
Exactly. So yes, we were having fun with the title of the possibility.
You want to say your fun.
Well, again, weighted vest and, doing hiking with a weighted vest is called rucking. So R-U-C-K, right?
Yes, ruck.
Ruck. So yes, quit rucking around. No, I'm just kidding. We were having fun with that title.
But that's actually an interesting place to start, because rucking is, that's a military, that's where that started, where, training with a very heavy weighted backpack, or ruck, is
to simulate what you're going to do in the field.
And so I think, the pros, when you're talking about the weighted vest, then, you're talking about a more equally distributed amount of weight, versus when you have that heavy ruck, whether you're doing it just for exercise purposes, or if you're, a backpacker or something where all the weight is distributed on the back, versus the weighted vests, which are actually they look more like military, or more, more tactical, like with where they have the weighted plates both in the front and the back. Some of them even have on the side. Yeah. So when you have something like that, instead, because we talk about, just regular backpack, the issues of, kids walking around with heavy backpacks. So you're going to have the same risks that come with rucking if you don't have that weight packed correctly and equally distributed. So I think that's one of the pros of a weighted vest. If you are looking to do something where you're adding some extra weight to your body weight and doing body weight exercises, which again, so, anytime you add weight, resistance. You're adding resistance. So,
yes. The simple way to put it is there's two ways to increase the resistance in your workout. You can increase intensity by, going up a hill, or you can add weight, and that will increase the intensity of the workout. So you either got to go up against gravity, which essentially is increasing resistance because you're working more against gravity. Hiking on a flat surface versus, a hill, there's a massive difference. And anyone who hikes regularly knows that based on their heart rate. So that's the whole concept of, doing the ruck is, having, increasing resistance to, again, help to train your body more from an endurance cardiovascular standpoint and strength, endurance strength in the large muscles, especially in the legs, to be able to endure longer with that heavy weight. Is very important and can be extremely beneficial from an endurance cardiovascular, muscular standpoint. So, but again, as you mentioned, if you just have, a backpack that's very improperly secured, or, it's only straps across the shoulders and it's really pulling the shoulders down, that can be very, very disadvantageous to, to your shoulder strength, to, the muscles across the lower neck, the trapezius going up the back. You can actually develop, neck pain, headaches from doing that too often because all of that weight is pulling right down on your shoulders. I'll never forget whenever I, as a Boy Scout, I was getting prepped for my first backpacking trip. And again, our mom and dad had no idea. They just had the list.
We were not an outdoorsy family.
So here's the list of what you're supposed to pack. Throw that crap all in the bag, and then you show up. And they literally had like a morning where it's like, okay, bring all your stuff before. It was like a week before, just so that we could see how you were supposed to pack it, and and be ready to go on this hiking trip. Well, we show up there, and again, I put the bag and basically had all the weight on my shoulders. Well, those backpacks are designed to have a belt around there. And literally when you lift that belt up, and again, I had it like all the way down, like below my hip crest.
Probably not even tight.
I couldn't, I couldn't walk. It just like didn't feel right. And so the scout leader came over and he's like, no, lift it up, tighten it. And so as soon as he did that, it was like all the weight went from my shoulders down to my hips, healthfully sitting on my hip crest. And I could breathe, I could move my legs, I could squat down. And then the straps were literally just to hold it, to keep it from flopping off my back. It just holds it, flat against your back, which is also important because then you're holding that weight as close to your center of gravity as possible. And you literally took the majority of the weight from up on the shoulders to down on the hips, which again, muscles of your legs are much stronger. This is a very mobile joint and good for reaching, lifting, but it's not good for long-term holding and stability. The muscles of your legs and the joints of your legs are designed for long-term standing resistance and, walking, hiking, rucking. So as soon as I did that, it was like, wow, it was a night and day difference. And just that little bit of a change, you were able to feel the weight distribution. And again, it's like doing it that way, you really set yourself up for being able to hike long term. And same thing in the military. Like if they're, trekking, 10, 20 miles in a day and they've got to have that heavy backpack on because they're going from one camp to another. It's very, very important that weight distribution is set appropriately. And so, because if it's all in the shoulders, it can really, really pull and be very heavy. Now, again, if you're only going to do it for, 20, 30 minutes and you've just got a vest that, just kind of maybe straps across here, and holds tight to the chest. And then you've got a little bit up here, a vest that looks more like, what you would wear like for water skiing or something like that. They've got those weighted vests, which again, it's like they can probably be pulled tight so that you're keeping the weight distribution even across your upper body. But if you're going like really heavy, you might, want to look at something that, secures more around closer to the hips, rather than just pulls on the shoulders. So that's.
I think, and again, it's like, it really comes down, again, you're talking about, if you're doing like rucking, or if you're doing, again, if you're hiking, you're doing long distances and you're doing it for prep, you need that, you're taking things because you need them. Then investing in something that, like the good quality that has extra back support, has extra hip support is really important. The weighted vest for exercise purposes, it seems to be getting more popular. Like, I don't see a ton of people throwing a heavy backpack on to go work out. It seems like it's the ones that are more, they're just trying to add the extra weight to get the extra added benefits. So I do still think it's important to find the one, something that fits. Especially for women. One of the things I was reading into, it's like, because it's like, if it's when you have those plates in the front, if you're a bigger chested woman, it's hard to get that fit properly. So they actually have ones now that I guess are designed more for that, to more fit the female physique. Because you figure, a guy, it's like, where your chest and back, you can kind of have that flat, you can have that secure fit versus the way the women's bodies are. So that's I think a big important consideration for women that are looking to do it. I mean, if you're a flat chested woman, then it doesn't matter. But that would be a consideration. And then I would just say, like, what exercises are you adding it to? Because
Yeah.
if you're throwing it on to go for a walk, great. But if you're doing a lot of, high impact, so like I was saying, I was like, I probably wouldn't recommend doing, starting out doing burpees with a weighted vest, because that's a lot. That's adding a lot of extra weight, and that's going to change your natural your biomechanics, what your body's used to.
Correct.
You could do burpees all day long with body weight, but as soon as you adds that extra weight, that's going to change the mechanics. Not to say you can't work up to that, but I think an important consideration, if you're at just same as when you started a resistance training program, you don't, go out and lift the heaviest weight.
Yep.
You want to start, if you're already an active person and you're trying to get that intensity bump, you don't want to throw a weighted vest on and go to the level you're already going. Like you need to, if you're increasing that resistance, then you need to back off like if you're a runner, don't expect to be able to run at the same pace as the day you put that weighted vest on. Maybe you can work up to that, but same thing if you're training and you're squatting and body weight squats might feel really easy and you can do, however many, but as soon as you put that weight on, it's going to add, it's really going to up the intensity more than you probably even expect. So,
even just, 10, 20 pounds can be a massive difference. And, and again, going back to the weight distribution too, if you've got a vest that like is shifting because you're twisting or you're going up and down and the weight is like shifting as you're, going into your burpee, like that is, if that shifts a little bit, that throws off the symmetry of your body. You can injure a shoulder very easily. You could injure a hip, knee very easily, if that weight is shifting on there. So that's the importance of those, vests.
Even a squat, even something that's slow and controlled, if that's not fitting properly, you could start finding yourself leaning one way or another, or pulling if it's not secure. If you start to get that, if you even get a little bit of forward momentum, it's going to pull you because you have that extra weight now. It's going to pull you forward. So very important to make sure you've got the proper distribution. And again, as you said, you're slowly working your way up. That's why I think they're the ones that have the steel plates that you can actually add and subtract from. I think those are the best because again, you can start at the lowest, whatever it is, 10 pounds, and then add plates. I mean, some of them go up to crazy high numbers, which again, it's like depending on if you're just the average person working out, putting that much extra weight on you just cause doesn't seem ideal. But I know a lot of people use them because again, they're trying to, they're really big, with fighters, with training, like they'll actually move or shadow box with it because, the idea is if you can feel quick on your feet with that added weight, as soon as you take it off, it's like, oh man, you feel lightning fast.
Yeah,
so,
even like doing a jump rope or something with it.
Exactly.
And then you take it off, it's like, whoa, now I'm moving.
So if you're in a sport and you're trying to, say, like baseball players when they're warming up with the weighted. With the weighted bat, it's the same idea. If you're training with that extra weight and then you take it off, you're going to feel like you're getting that extra, that extra burst. So for competition reasons, it can definitely have its benefit. But again, as far as the average person, it's, do you need it? No, like if you're doing nothing, I wouldn't say that's where you want to start.
Absolutely.
But the team member that asked us about it is very active. And so for somebody like that, like if you're already regularly active and you're familiar with resistance training and you're familiar with how to move your body with weight, then it can definitely be something where, you throw it on. We're heading into this nice weather, so you throw it on to go walk the dog, and all of a sudden you've taken an activity that's, just kind of an activity of daily living, and you've increased the resistance, and now it might get your heart rate up, to the point that you actually get, active minutes or get more, that into more of that resistance training. So it can definitely boost those kind of regular activities, but again, they seem really popular right now. We'll see. It seems like the thing. I don't know.
And again, with any exercise device, it's all a matter of like, are you if you're truly trying to gain strength, right, it's all about fatiguing the body, right? It's fatiguing the muscle. So, you can fatigue the muscle by adding more weight and doing lower reps, or just doing more reps. And, however you're going to fatigue the muscle, that's going to help increase strength and, increase endurance, with that. So, again, the weighted vest, you just want to make sure that it's evenly distributed, because that's going to be the safest way, possible. I guess the other thing is if someone's, on a weight loss journey too, if you're trying to do, pull-ups or dips or push-ups, and, again, you're training at one, body weight, and then, you're dropping that body weight over time,
your resistance actually getting less.
Yes, your resistance is getting less. So again, it's important to increase the reps, but it might be beneficial then to, add the weight back on and try and mimic the body weight.
That's actually a good point.
So it's all in just, risk benefit.
Yep.
You just want to make sure that you're doing it appropriately so that you're not injuring yourself. And if you ever feel unstable with it, like I would just say, you need to stop, or you need to, get a different device, stop completely, just go back to body weight, or just do something in a little bit more of a controlled manner. So, that's just, I think that's everything. It can be very beneficial too for cardiovascular stuff. If you're just using it for, walking, hiking.
Walking up a flight of steps. I mean, again,
they can be very beneficial. So, but again, those aren't the quick movements, and the resistance movements like a push up, squat, pull up, a dip, those are just
the movements that already have the higher risk of injury.
Yes.
It's like, then you're adding that extra.
Yeah, the extra weight,
extra risk. So.
Yeah. So again, it's like we don't really, necessarily recommend one way or another. It's like just be smart with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is really what it comes down to, and make sure that the weight it's secure, evenly distributed is probably the most important thing,
and not too much. So that's always
Yes, you can always add more.
Yes.
If you add too much, you injure yourself.
Yeah, you put too much on, and it's like,
And now you've just backtracked several months.
Exactly.
Was there any other devices that we were going to talk about?
The other one that just seems really big right now are the waist trainers, which you didn't even know what it was.
I didn't even know what it was. See, this is like, like, Dr. Dan, like what? Like, and again, I'm the simple guy with, I got
your way to the basement.
I got a platform in my basement. It's an unfinished basement. The walls are concrete. Like, it's like very Rocky 3.
Right, yeah.
It's like, it's literally like, put some weights on the bar, lift the weights, squat, bench press, pull downs, and, we're good. But there's so many devices now. So I didn't even hear about this.
They're the waist trainers. So they're just the things that go, like, literally they're just like Velcro. I mean, I guess some of them have straps, but mostly they're just like a Velcro thing that goes around your waist. And some of them are full pullover vests. And the idea is it's that like kind of rubbery wetsuit type material. And just, it makes you sweat more. So the idea behind them is, it's kind of that, it's like that spot reduction. So it's like, okay, well, if I wear that around my waist and I'm sweating more, I'll have more defined abs, or I'll target the fat in that area is the idea.
The claim.
Yes, is the idea behind them. Again, very popular I'll refer back to the fight community because that's the people I know.
Anything to get an edge.
So yes, they're very big, and again, in weight class sports, because if you're training and that, sweating that little bit extra could be the difference between making weight or not. So you brought up the comparison, same idea as, training with a trash bag on. It's trapping in, instead of wearing something that's a breathable material where it's, it's trapping in the heat, so that the idea is just, if you increase your body temperature, you're going to sweat more, you're going to lose more weight. So I have used them. I do think they make you sweat more as far as, does it target fat in that area? I would say like right after you take it off, if you already have abs, you can see them more, but just like just like anything, it's like, okay, well, it's going to be a very short term, kind of short term physique boosting thing. It's not like it's going to magically give you a 6-pack and you're going to walk around with that all day.
You remember those the barbells and the vibrating like dumbbell?
Oh, the
things?
shake
the
weights.
shaker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like,
that, and then they had
they had the
straps.
stimmy.
It's literally literally like electric stimulation to like activate your abs.
Yeah,
throughout the day.
Yeah, anything to make it easier without actually doing the work.
Yeah,
but
right.
my biggest issue with, so again, a lot of people would wear, we would actually wear the trainers when we were sparring because it just kind of gave some extra, gave you a little extra cushion when you took those body shots.
Nice.
I wore it when I was dealing with my hip injury because it kind of helped. I think it actually kind of helped support my hip, and I just noticed I didn't have as much hip pain when I was wearing it. But I will say the one thing, it's like a lot of women wear it thinking it's going to improve their core strength, but it can, like, if you are already mindful about activating your core, which we've done several podcasts on. So if you already know how to do that, I think it can be a good reminder for, I need to activate my core. But if you're not already familiar with that, I think the problem is people put it on and then they actually kind of relax. They don't, they have the opposite effect. They disengage their core because they have this external, kind of same as you talk about with like the posture, postural support. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
If you have something that is forcing you into good posture, you're not actively thinking about it. And then when you don't have the device on, you don't have the good posture. Yeah. So that's kind of the same thing. If the only way you can do core exercises is having that on, but you don't actually have the core strength to do them without it, then you're becoming too reliant on that. So that's where I worry sometimes is it's, are you using it to push through an injury where maybe you should just be listening to your body and not doing a certain exercise and find a different way to work those same muscle groups. So again, in short, yes, they make you sweat more. Do they help? Do they really increase long-term weight loss? Probably not. Short-term weight loss, probably, just like anything that makes you sweat. Sitting in a sauna will make you lose weight. Like running with the trash bag will make you lose weight in the short term. So
not drinking water throughout the day.
Exactly.
Exactly. Not healthy, but
So it's like, again, I know they're big in the in the weight class and the I don't want to say vanity, but people just trying to any little edge to improve their physique and things like that. And again, there's like everything, there's pros and cons to them. I would just say the biggest thing is making sure you're not using it to push through an injury. Like I know a lot of people were using them like, oh, it helps my low back. I'm like, yeah, well, so does working on your core. Like that's, so it's like, we don't want to use it as a bandage if you're just
crutch, literally.
A crutch. Yeah. It's like, but if you're throwing it on to get a little more sweat, a little more, sure.
I go back to, I still never forget the article that I read years ago. It was one of the rappers. It might've been like, it was either maybe 50 Cent. I can't remember, but like he talked about, how he, worked on his abs, and he said, literally, I'll be at an event and,
just sitting there.
I can literally be doing, like ab bracing and literally, squat, engaging my core while I'm having a conversation and while, going through a, 2-hour event dinner, at a table. And it's like, I've just, engaged my core for that long. And it's like, we can all do that through ab bracing and activating that core musculature. And that's, even the people who have these jobs that are, desk, computer driven jobs, and they're in front of a computer for 8 to 10 hours a day. It's like, you can be doing stuff that, helps to engage that core, even when you're not actually like in a gym or on the floor working out. So I think that in the long run, becoming more aware of that and trying to engage that, more and more subconsciously, is going to be much better for you in the long run than some of these devices.
These external things.
But again, if it's going to give you a little bit of an awareness, and because I've had patients mention that like they wear that posture strap, and they're like, it made me become much more aware of how much my shoulders
good posture
were going
feels
forward,
like. Yes,
and so it's like when I would go forward and it started digging into my shoulder, it would remind me like, okay, no, I need to sit up. It's like, if it's an awareness thing, I get that,
Absolutely.
but to rely on it as a, as thinking that that's going to give you a huge edge. It's not.
Yeah. And if anything, I think when you're using those type of things, anything, same as, if you're lifting weights, anytime you're adding anything external, you need to be even more aware than, so that's the big thing. It's like, whether it's a weighted vest or one of those waist trainers or whatever, I don't know, or the ankle and wrist weights still a thing. That was like the 80s. But remember like all the women out power walking with it's like, again, it's the idea is you're adding extra resistance, but you need to be aware because it's, you can't be, if you're adding weight, especially to places like that are not as not as strong muscle groups as your core, you can't be like flying around willy-nilly. So so yes, all of those things have a time and place and purpose, but you can't just throw it on and go about your day. You need to be even more aware of your core, your posture, the fit of it. So I think that's really what it comes down to. I think like everything, it is like, that is a very individualized question. So it's like, if I would say if you're actively dealing with any type of neck, back, shoulder injuries, let's not
add to the equation.
Like that would be, I was like, those type of things should be like, okay, you're at the point that you're clear to do any kind of exercise, you're good, you have your basis covered and then add. So I think just some people get so excited and, they hear about, weighted vest, that'll help me lose weight or get stronger. And it's like, okay, but like, let's start with the basics. So
exactly.
So that's probably my
2 cents.
My 2 cents. Again, pros and cons. If you don't personally know if it's good for you, if you don't have a trainer, feel free to reach out to me about, I can't tell you without seeing you, but if just reach out to me or another trainer and just, with your individual situation. That's always the best place to start when you're not sure about adding to your routine.
Ask your trusted health professional. If you don't have one, find one. So with that being said, I'm Dr. Dan.
Angela.
We will see you at the next one.
You guys.
You've been listening to another episode of What the Health? The podcast where anything health is fair game, with your hosts, Dr. Dan, Angela, and Dr. Riley. Brought to you by Churro Family Chiropractic. If you'd like to learn more about some of the resources mentioned on this show, or you have questions about something that was discussed, please reach out through our website at www.turofamilychiropractic.com. Remember to like and subscribe to What the Health Podcast to catch all the latest episodes and replay your favorites. Thank you for listening, and remember, we're always here to help when you find yourself saying, "What the hell?"